Welcome back from the Weekend Research Project. My name is Robert Gadomski. I'm here again, as always, with John Shear. One of the major things that this Congress and Senate is going to attack in its next session is filibuster reform. John Shear, a well-known expert in the filibuster, is going to explain to us what that is.
Well, I don't know if I'm an expert in it. But
you're the Weekend Research expert.
But basically a filibuster is in the Senate, the Senate has unlimited debate, whereby senators, once a bill is brought or even before a bill is brought, they can actually debate whether or not to bring the bill up. There's unlimited debate, and the only way to close debate and therefore move for a vote is to vote on cloture, which is ending debate. You need 60 senators to agree to that. And in recent years, we've seen an increase in the number of filibusters over the years, which has caused a number of people on the Democratic side to say we should reform the filibuster because it shouldn't require 60 votes to get a bill through the Senate. It's notable to say that this also occurred during George W. Bush's tenure on his court nominations, where Republicans threatened to do the same thing. Basically, you can change the Senate rules with a majority vote. So you only need 50 senators to change the Senate rules. And the Senate rules say you need 60 votes to pass a bill. So majority of the senators can say, we don't want 60 votes anymore, we're going to change it to majority. And Obama, in his second book, The Audacity of Hope, said that he thought that this was a horrible thing to do because it takes away the power of the minority. You know, it takes away their power to debate something, to influence the political process. But I think the idea has changed just because of the sheer number of
the filibusters that are present. That's where the magic number of the supermajority, 60. If you have 60 senators, you can get anything passed. George W. Bush didn't have it so much in 2004. Barack Obama had it for 6 months in 2009 before Ted Kennedy passed away. Yeah. And that's when, during the health care bill, the Republicans were filibustering it. And then Scott Brown won, and then they picked off, I believe, a Nebraska senator and Louisiana with pork and the health care bill to get it passed. That's where it is in current events. So do you think that this is just, now Democrats are arguing for this now to change the rules to prevent less filibusters, to get more things done. Do you think Democrats, we all know politics is cyclical. When one party is threatened to go extinct, that means they're just 8 years away from having a dominant election or whatnot. In 2004, Karl Rove said, this could be the end of the Democratic Party. Faith-based Democrats had huge losses across the country. Tom Daschle in South Dakota, various Republican senators winning overwhelmingly. And then in 2016, Republicans got punched in the mouth. 2008, Republicans got punched in the other side of the mouth. And then in 2008, they said, well, the Republican Party is about to go extinct. They're a dying breed. And then in 2010, Republicans won an overwhelming amount of congressional seats and Senate seats that they never thought they would win before. And then in 2012, a week and a half ago, we're debating still whether the Republican Party is going to extinct or not. That's a separate argument, obviously. Yeah. But do you think the Democrats are bringing this up to the forefront because they have a 54-45 majority?
Or I think it's just the sheer amount of the filibuster. Both sides have always had a dislike of the filibuster. It's a tool used by
it makes it hard to govern.
The minority, and one senator can hold up the whole process.
It makes it hard to govern. It makes it hard. And then in 4 years or 6 years, run.
It does. And the thing is, though, I mean, if we look at the sheer number of filibusters that the Republicans have done under Obama, I mean, before 68, the last year that the Democrats were the minority, 68. And if you go back in the history, you find it peaks at like 80. So there were 80 filibusters in the early 90s, and we can conclude that was probably while Clinton was in power. But you see it go from 68, and then it goes to 139 in the first year that Democrats are the majority party. And then it goes up to 137, and then it goes up to 110. So Harry Reid he takes joy in saying he's presided over 386 filibusters, and that over 3 or 4 years. And the preceding that, when the Republicans were in control, there were only 201. So the sheer number of it, it's supposed to be a tool that you use for important things, like the healthcare law, fine.
It's a tool so that you don't have legislation rammed down your throat, because you could come and have a vote, and if you have 60 votes, those 40 don't even matter. So let's say the Democrats had the 60 vote majority a couple years ago after the landslide 2008 elections. They could govern without the will of that Republican Party. So that's what it's supposed to be a tool for. You stop a vote on something and whatnot. It's hard to do when it's 55-55 or 52-48 or whatnot, although we still see rising numbers.
Well, the thing is, and that's the thing, it's a roadblock, and they can't get anything done. And I mean, and these are just the actual, stalling of debate. There are other things too, where they have to argue about, they have to close debate on whether or not to debate something. And that's a reform they want to get rid of. And then you have, you have other efforts too, that they can constantly add amendments. So it's bad, but the actual proposal, and I know I'm going a little over time here, but the actual proposal that's coming out of this is, if it's between 50 and 60 votes, then you have an elevated level. So you can't just pass it by majority vote. But if it's below 50, below majority, then the bill fails. So you can't have one or two senators holding up the whole process.
I think this is the changing tide in American politics, and what Ronald Brownstein, who authored the book The Second Civil War, that Americans are becoming more partisan as the days go on, and even their voters are becoming more partisan, and they don't even look at the issue sometimes. They just vote down the line. I just think that's how the American political system is working. We just spoke about, you want to get things done, you want to get legislation through, because in a couple years, whether it be 2, 4, 6 years, Congress 2 years, President 4 years, Senator 6, you have to run for re-election. And as we know in politics, it's never too early to start thinking about the next presidential election or the next Senate election in 2 years. And I think this week we saw the first 2 candidates on the Republican side come out. Chris Christie was on Saturday Night Live yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
Chris Christie was the favorite to run for the Republican Party this term, and Ann Coulter stated, if we don't run Chris Christie, Mitt Romney will win the nomination and we'll lose. That's an exact quote, by the way. And Marco Rubio was at a fundraiser in Iowa for the governor's birthday. He has a fundraiser for his birthday. And oddly enough, Iowa, is the first caucus in the Republican nominating process, which usually lasts between 15 and 35 years. That's a joke, by the way. So I think these 2 guys throwing their hats in. I think Chris Christie would have to win re-election as governor next year. I'm pretty sure his approval ratings are high, so I don't know how hard that would be for him.
Yeah,
I think Marco Rubio is the second one to throw his hat in to the 2016 election. And we've talked so much about race over the last 12 days in this election, how Republican dynamics of victory are lessening because white people have lost power, supposedly. That's what the Bill Maher would say. So Rubio would be the perfect pick, obviously, to grab Latino voters, and he'll be working in the Senate on a Republican version of the DREAM Act. I've heard reports this week that that's what the Republicans are going to work on. So that's my opinion. Chris Christie, Marco Rubio, the first 2 to throw their hat in.
Well, I think if the Republican Party wants to get serious, it's going to be with their policies. If they're working on, I haven't checked on that, but if they are working on a version of the DREAM Act, and they are serious about immigration reform that doesn't paint, everyone as a criminal.
Well, This is something that liberals have, I apologize for interrupting, but this is something that liberals have stated about Republicans, and I almost give them the benefit of the doubt because I thought election day 2012 was a shellacking. But you just said, paint people as criminals. People who have come to America illegally, you know what, they are criminals. Let's be honest for a moment. If you come to America illegally, whether the process is hard or not, whether it's not easy, whether it's too much paperwork, too much this, too much that, it's illegal. Just because something isn't easy doesn't mean, you get a pass and you take the easy way out.
I'm not saying you give people a pass, but you have candidates that outright vilify illegal immigrants and make them and paint them as the cause of every conceivable social ill. And that doesn't help the Republican perception, at least, on it. sure, do we have to have a distinction between legal and illegal? Yes, but you have to also recognize that there are 12 million people living in the country, and you have to have a path to citizenship, or you have to have some kind of plan other than ship them back.
And a way to pay back their taxes as well.
Well, that too, and that's kind of a fallacy too. That a lot of immigrants do pay taxes and don't get the benefits back because they use. It's true that they use fraudulent social security numbers and everything, but the money gets withdrawn and put in the account, and they don't collect on it. So, and they do pay sales taxes, and they do pay
city and state taxes.
So that's a bit of a fallacy. But the Republican Party, it's not going to be enough to throw out a candidate that's Latino or that's African American, or a woman, and just assume that the whole demographic group is going to go along with you. You have to put your money where your mouth is.
As we just said, the Democratic Party has painted itself as the party of everyone who's not a big, fat, rich white guy. Republicans don't care about women. Republicans don't care about minorities, this, that, and the third. What is the liberal policy? Now, Republicans who are anti-abortion, that's a legitimate political opinion. Some of it's based on religious beliefs. Some of it's based on the fact that they believe that an abortion is murder, and that to commit murder is a sin, and that's how they view it. That's not an opinion that should be vilified. To say things like, the body shuts down, and, a child born from the act of rape is, God's a little crazy, as previously stated, and never want to see those guys again. Never. Aiken, Murdoch, never again. So, but what specifically has the Democratic Party said? What specifically in policy do Democrats put forth for African Americans, for Hispanics, for women, that, they become such a heavy voting bloc?
Well,
what specifically, besides vilifying Republicans for being rich?
I think they have taken policy stances that do,
Such as?
Reach out to them. But also, in addition to that, there are things that sometimes they're just the lesser of the two evils when it comes to.
But such as, you said they have taken policy initiatives, such as what? What?
Education.
Education.
You support education. You support, like Obama has said, he supports making college education, just having it required, basically. Basically saying you're entitled to have a 2-year degree in school, which would completely allow minorities to have a better chance of succeeding in society we need people that have high technologically.
Listen, no one is stating that. No one is stating
jobs that require high levels of technology.
No one is stating that you don't have the right to an education. Me and you took various Queen's College classes together of different degrees, whether it be political science, history, earth science classes that I slept through, all the other ones. And you know what? It's a Queen's College. This is the only place we're going to mention because that's where we were. It's a diverse place. There is so many people there of every different ethnic background and whatnot.
Yes, but the issue, unique city.
But the issue at hand is whether it deserves to be free or not.
Well, look, look at the history of education in this country. We were agrarian, right? Every other country, education was a privilege. We said we want to educate our children, and we had the one-room schoolhouse. We educated them. We gave them the skills needed to do their job in the agrarian sector better, right? That was not allowed. That was not, required anywhere else in the country, anywhere else in the world, rather. Then we had the Industrial Revolution, right? We needed manufacturing. We needed a higher level of education. So we made post-secondary education, high school, required. That gave people the skills necessary to succeed in the manufacturing economy. Now we have a post-industrial where we need people that are highly qualified for high technology jobs.